I get questions like this all the time. We should stop recycling. Recycling is pointless. Why bother with recycling? So let's address this. Should we actually stop recycling or should we keep it up? Recycling is imperfect, we all know that, but especially in the US. But why is it so bad? Let's explore that today. Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all sorts of things zero waste, focusing on free, easy, and fun ways to live low waste, and we're bringing it back. I talked a lot about recycling from like 2019 to 2021, but I kind of stopped talking about it for similar reasons as I get in these comments, is that recycling matters. I think we should still be recycling, as I'll give you these reasons throughout this video. It's an imperfect system, and it's not going to save the planet in the state that it's in. It's very important, I think we should be working on it, but I kind of put it on the back burner myself, but we're back. I love recycling, I still do. Let's talk about it. First, recycling is actually a business. And because recycling is a business, it's more affordable for brands to choose new materials than it is to choose recycled materials. And because they're choosing new materials versus recycled materials, there's no need for all of that recycling to be recycled, to be reused, because nobody's reusing it. It's a supply and demand thing, right? There's no demand for recycling. There's no need to create that supply of recycled materials. It's just cheaper for everybody to send it to the landfill. So why would a recycling company want to put in all that time, money, effort into recycling plastic bottles when nobody's going to buy it from them at the end of the day? So recycling companies need somewhere to send all of that recycled material, but nobody wants to buy it. So this is why it's important for us to not only recycle correctly at the very beginning of this system, but also at the end of the system to buy recycled materials. This is why I personally like to buy stuff like Who Gives a Crap recycled toilet paper instead of their bamboo toilet paper. When I'm looking for a new notebook, choosing a notebook made from recycled paper. When I'm looking for, I think, some stuff from Girlfriend Collective, this is Tentree, not Girlfriend. They use recycled plastic bottles in their stuff, which is why I like to support that business. This shows companies that there is a demand for choosing recycled materials. And as the demand for recycled materials goes up, that supply that's just sitting there full of recycled materials, that will finally go up as well. But we also need to talk about subsidies, because why is recycling a business? It kind of all starts with subsidies. If you don't know what a subsidy is, according to Oxford Dictionary, it is a sum of money granted by the government or a public body to assist an industry or business so that the price of a commodity or service may remain low or competitive. Do you see where this is going? Our new materials are subsidized, especially plastic. Why? Perhaps maybe you didn't know this fun fact as well. Plastic is made from oil, rather a byproduct from the oil industry, and you can learn more about the history of plastic in this video. So again, do you see where all this is going? Big Oil is behind this. They want something to do with all of that waste, all that byproduct from creating oil and gas. They want to create new plastic. And how do they keep the price of plastic low and competitive when recycled plastic exists, when better materials exist for the planet? They subsidize it. So this is ultimately why plastic recycling rates are so low, because of the competition. It's so much cheaper for a company to use new plastic than recycled plastic, which is why none of it's being recycled. It's too much of a waste of money, time, resources, and people to recycle plastic when they could just be using new plastic. Especially when there's an endless supply of new plastic, because there's an endless supply of oil right now. Now, we will run out eventually. So unless companies are going out of their way and using recycled plastic out of the goodness of their own heart, no company in their right mind is going to do it because it's more expensive. And you know what fuels the economy? Greed. Companies are too focused on making a profit, raking in the dough, putting money in their own pockets than they are for the environment, so there's no incentive, especially monetarily, to use recycled plastic. Of course, other recycled materials, paper, metal, glass, are about the same. If not, the recycled might be a little bit cheaper, which is why you often see a lot of recycled paper in the stream of goods. You see it on even big brands like Georgia Pacific toilet paper. They use recycled paper. So it must be cheaper to use recycled paper than new paper. But for plastic is just ultimately still and probably will continue to be cheaper to use new. But there is another reason why our recycling rates are so low, and that is because of us. I'm not going to put all the blame on the consumers. You know me, I will never do that. Recycling would be fixed in a lot of ways if we lifted these subsidies and actually subsidized the recycled products instead of the new products. But regardless, recycling isn't going to get done if we keep recycling incorrectly, and we're doing this in a number of ways. Again, I talked heavily about recycling in the past in my early videos. You can check all of them out in this playlist up here, and a lot of them will be linked down below as well. But I started doing this series because I was a wish cycler once, and if you've never heard the term wish cycling, basically what this means is you're putting stuff in your recycling bin in the hopes that it'll be recycled because it feels better for you to put it in the recycling bin than in the landfill. Even though if you put stuff that's not recyclable in your recycling bin, it's gonna go to the landfill anyway. In fact, now that you've put stuff in your recycling bin that's not recyclable, the stuff in there that is recyclable is probably also gonna go to the landfill too. So you're actually doing more harm than good by putting stuff in your recycling bin that doesn't belong there. And because I was only learning about recycling rules later in my life, in like my early 20s, I was like, surely other people have yet to learn this too, which really inspired me to create my social media channel, but also create videos specifically about recycling correctly. Now, if you have rules on the top of your bin, or they handed you a little pamphlet when you moved into the neighborhood, or you have access to them via a website, you have to follow those rules exactly. If it says plastics number 1 and 2, only put plastics number 1 and 2 in your bin. Don't put plastics 4 and 6 in there. If it says no glass, don't put glass in there. You know, follow the rules exactly, because that's what your recycling company can take and can recycle. I know it hurts to put stuff that might be recyclable into the landfill, and you can find other means. You can drive that recycling to a different municipality. You could find special programs through things like TerraCycle or in-store or grocery store recycling. And as always, these rules are going to differ depending on where you live, but in general, in the US, your recycling has to be clean and dry. Actually, that's standard throughout the world. Clean and dry. Doesn't have to be spotless, doesn't have to be squeaky clean, like you don't have to rub it with a bristle brush and soap. Put it in your dishwasher if you have one. Give it a quick rinse so that it's not crusty. And then dry, just because if it's wet, it might get the rest of your paper wet, and then wet paper usually can't be recycled. It's all very complicated. And typically they accept plastics number 1 and 2. Sometimes it's just plastic ones. Typically metal cans, glass, paper, and cardboard are recycled as well, but glass is also hard to come across. Sometimes they might actually accept carton board, which you can learn more about carton board in this video. But again, all rules are different, so take this with a grain of salt. This is like generally accepted rules, but always check before recycling. You don't want to be recycling incorrectly. Now, notice that this list is very small. What did I list? 6 items or so? This does not include things like plastic bags, plastic forks and utensils, paper plates, styrofoam, metal aerosol cans, paint cans, ceramics. I have a whole list of things that you can't recycle. I'll leave them both tagged below, 2 separate videos. So just because something is plastic, let's just, do I have any plastic lying around? This cat treat bag. It's a plastic bag. In theory, all things are recyclable. And if I have that mindset that, oh, everything's recyclable, I'm gonna put this empty bag into my recycling bin. Nope, not recyclable, because my local rules state plastics number 1 and 2 only, and this is probably a 4. But I doubt it even says it on here. When we lived in Spokane, we couldn't recycle glass. Now we can recycle glass, but we also can't recycle paper now. And that's a conspiracy for another day, because we live in logging country, which again, I think it comes down to they want to support new paper. And then when we lived in Ohio this winter, we were able to recycle things like carton board and Tetra Pak, so it always differs depending on where you live. And why? This is because many municipalities use machines to sort, or hand sort even sometimes. But regardless, they don't have the means to sort out every single material under the sun because they are all different and they all have to be recycled together. So thin plastics can only be recycled with thin plastics. Plastics number 1 can only be recycled with plastics 1. Metal can only be recycled with metal. You get the point. And this brings us to our next point, and that is that the recycling symbol isn't actually a recycling symbol. It's a resin identification code. Surely I have a plastic jar around here somewhere. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it right there. That is a resin identification code. It is not a recycling symbol. Everything has one of these. Paper has one, metal has one, glass has one. And this is kind of how the machines sort the items. So just because it has a triangle recycling symbol on there doesn't mean it's actually recyclable in your area. In fact, yeah, most of these are just used for the manufacturers to be able to decide like, oh, this bottle can be recycled with this bottle and not this third bottle. I also have a full video on the different types of plastic and why they can't all be recycled together, and you can check that out up here or down below. But also, speaking of the recycling symbol is also greenwashing. Plenty of businesses will just slap a recycling symbol on something because, yeah, in theory it is recyclable, but that doesn't mean you, the consumer, can recycle it in your area. And this just really encourages wish cycling. Businesses will do this without properly educating the customer. In fact, they probably do it to make themselves feel better, right? Like, oh, our product is recyclable. Buy us. They probably use it to greenwash. Yes, everything does have the potential to be recycled, but that doesn't mean it is recyclable commercially, like on the big scale. When brands do this, customers, especially uneducated customers, think that it's okay to put those items in their recycling bin because the company says it's recyclable, so I'm going to put it in my bin. And this leads to wish cycling, this leads to stuff ending up in the landfill, but it leads to more things ending up in the landfill by recycling incorrectly. I'm just going to use one brand as an example. Clean Cult. They're a brand I enjoy. I like their products, but I'm really not a fan of their messaging because they do lean toward greenwashing, or rather just encouraging customers to wish cycle. They say, or paper cartons are fully recyclable. Yes, in theory they are fully recyclable, but that doesn't mean every single region that your customers are living in have access to Tetra Pak or carton board recycling. It's still very new to recycle carton board. It's expanding for sure. There's more areas accepting it every single day, month, year, but it's still not that common. So by Clean Cult saying to all of their customers, put this in your recycling bin, it's encouraging wish cycling. Many brands also use other arbitrary claims like fully recyclable or recycle bottle and cap together, even though some municipalities might not accept bottle caps. This is, again, important why you should check your rules, but also important why these brands should not be making these arbitrary claims when recycling rules are different throughout the entire US and the entire world for some of these global companies. So, at the end of the day, is recycling a waste of time? Should we stop doing it? No, it is not a waste of time. Recycling is extremely important and we must continue to do it correctly. Please recycle correctly. It's really not that difficult, especially if you're recycling fewer items because now you're recycling only what's actually accepted. It's less work to sort, to clean, to dry, and a lot of it you can just put in the dishwasher. Glass, metal especially, and a lot of hard plastics easily can go in the dishwasher safely to help the cleaning process for you. And yeah, it would be nice if governments, companies cared more about the environment, cared more about recycling than they did about profits, but they don't. So recycling is on our shoulders for now, but what you can do is if you see a petition about recycling, sign it. Write to your elected officials demanding better recycling. Write to these companies demanding them to do better recycling, or at least better education. You know, if Coca-Cola doesn't want to take back their bottles to recycle, even though they're the #1 plastic polluter, the least they can do is quit putting wish cycling information on their bottles. They're one of those companies that I mentioned that said, recycle cap and bottle together, even though that's not always accepted. If we all recycle perfectly, will it fix the system? No. Again, because of subsidies, particularly plastic. I think if we all recycle correctly though, it will greatly impact metal, glass, and paper recycling, for sure. Plastic recycling, again, because of the subsidies, we don't have a whole lot of change over that, but who knows, if we all start recycling perfectly, we might see a difference. Our small actions matter, and I say that in every single one of my videos because it's true. They want us to feel discouraged. They want us to say these things to one another, like, quit recycling, it doesn't matter, quit recycling, it's bad. They want us to do that. Because guess what? It keeps our pockets lined with the money from new materials. But keep doing it. Keep recycling correctly, keep encouraging others to recycle correctly, educating others, sharing recycling content with them. Because together we can create a fully circular economy instead of a linear economy and just throwing everything away. There are so many benefits to recycling when it comes to reducing emissions, reducing landfill space, reducing how many resources are extracted from the planet because we're running out of resources. If you want to learn more about recycling, I have a lot of recycling content as I hinted at, such as things you can't recycle, things you actually can recycle through special programs like TerraCycle. And as I hinted at, our landfills are actually running out of space, so let's take that seriously as well. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. I hope that you enjoyed this and found this inspirational, educational, and if you did, please share it with others, people that you're living with, working with, going to school with, to recycle too. And if you want to learn how to start your own recycling program, you can check it out up here. I've started 2 now in my life, and they've been pretty successful. I hope that they're still going on because I have moved since, but even just me doing it over the course of like a year or less, just me diverted hundreds of bottles from the landfill, tens of pounds, maybe even hundreds of pounds of material from the landfill. And again, just one person, which really proves that your small actions matter. It didn't take me a whole lot of time to recycle correctly and educate the people that I worked with to recycle correctly. Because I think truly if we all take 5 minutes to learn about recycling and recycle better, it can make a big difference. Let me know what you think down below about recycling. Is it a waste of time? Is it a scam? Should we stop doing it? Should we keep doing it? Let us know. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much again for watching. And as always, remember that your small actions truly do make a big difference in the long run. Bye guys. Why are you exiting that way? No, he just got off the couch in the worst way I've ever seen. Bro! Lift your foot. And then he unplugged Dan's computer charger. Gives a crap recycled paper. Which is why I personally like to buy stuff like, who gives a crap? Crap, not cap. As always, remember that your small actions truly do make a big difference in the long run. I'll see you in the next video. I did that backwards, now I don't know what to say.